Hey, welcome everybody. You come early on a Zoom meeting, so you get the good seats, right?
What we become now will shape us or break us. It'll shape or break our kids. It will shape or break our futures. This is what happens when you're in the championship games. Super Bowls change people. And when the pressure is on, like it is right now, how we navigate, especially now as we start to change, will be the difference in who we become, what we give over to our family members, and what we give to ourselves. So I want to share with you one idea. It's going to take a little bit to develop it, but I want to share with you one idea because I believe this is at the core of everything. I spend a lot of time in the world of company growth. I help companies grow in different ways. So for those who are in the corporate world, you know that in March, back when I was, back a year ago, March Madness was you picked a team you never heard of, and then all of a sudden they upset the 1 seed, and like that was madness. This year was actual madness. The entire world shutting down totally redefines March Madness. I don't know what they're going to say next year about March Madness. It's going to be like March, like a little bit craziness, but March Madness is already, that's it. The virus is now considered officially March Madness. So if you remember in March, which must feel like a year ago, the whole world grinded to a halt. And if you remember what it did initially to the corporate world, it sent it shockwaves to the corporate world. And it was one particular night where it was another CEO calling, another company that was closing, more people being laid off. And I had a very tough day. And a friend of mine called me and he heard it in my voice and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." He goes, "You don't sound like yourself." I'm like, "I'm fine." He goes, "You don't sound like it." I'm like, "I'm okay." So he goes, "You forgot about the seed?" I said, "I forgot about the what?" He goes, "The seed. You forgot about the seed." I said, "What seed?" He's like, "You forgot about the seed." He goes, "Go to your computer." And I get up and I go to my computer, and in my computer, at my computer ready, is an email from him. And in the email had 2 pages. There were photocopies from the book, the Jewish book one of my top 5 books that have inspired me the most. The book is a book called the Nesiva Shalom. It's written by a rabbi named the Slonimer Rebbe. And it was really when I started to get interested in Judaism and when I was post high school, it was one of the few books that really introduced me to the joy, the grandeur, the beauty of the inner aspects of our religion. And in that book, he has a piece that I quoted 6 months earlier at a speech that I had forgotten about, that my buddy reminded me because I sent him the pages when I did it. It had to do with the holiday of Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is a holiday in which we mourn the destruction of the temple. And the holiday is situated in a way where like you descend into it. There's a 3-week period of sort of mini mourning, and then you go into like a 9 days, and then you get into the weekend before, and then you get to this fast, and in the beginning it's really depressing, and you sit on the floor, and then something happens mid-fast, and you sit up at the chair in the midday of that fast, and then it all starts to go back. And the rabbi was taking you behind the curtains of the physical world, and he compared the moment of when you got up to an actual seed in your palm. And I read that page, and I read that metaphor. And from that moment, I was a changed person. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about the seed. Of course, we're going to take a little digression. But that's our goal. If we understand the power of the seed, I think we understand the power of our time. And if we miss it, I think we miss it. Because climbing is not about using your legs. Climbing is about using your mind. The mentality that we have right now will change us. So I'm sorry if you've heard the story before. I just can't tell. I see Ken's on. I don't know who's heard what. So if you heard it before, I apologize. I want to share with you one story. One story. I read the story in a book, so it must be true. The story takes place in the northwest of our country. I don't know if it was Portland, Seattle. It was in the northwest somewhere. I forgot exactly the town. And if you can picture it, picture a gorgeous big park. The northwest. It's beautiful over there. A huge, gorgeous park. Tree-lined roads. Grass everywhere. It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and so it's silent except for the crickets, except for the trees waking up, except for the moisture of the dew. And if you're watching it in a camera, you almost can pan down and you see in the park is a man, mid-40s, hovering over his knees, and he's not crying. He is sobbing. He's not sobbing. He is like gasping. He is wounded, not physically, but there's something. This isn't just a man crying. He can't control. It's an uncontrollable cry. It's like piercing. Down the road walks an old man. And as he walks down the road, he stops and sees this younger man. And he's in pain. And the older man says, "Are you okay?" And he goes, "I'm fine." He goes, "You don't look fine." He goes, "I'm fine." He goes, "You don't look fine to me." He goes, "I'm fine." He says, "Well, can I help you?" He goes, "You for surely can't help me." He goes, "Listen, it seems like you need some help. Can I listen?" He goes, "You want to listen to my problems?" He says, "Yeah." He goes, "Fine, old man. You're welcome to." This man sits down next to this younger guy on a park bench, and he goes, "Tell me your problems." And the young man says, "A couple miles from here is a town. My grandparents are immigrants. They came to this country. They started off in Ellis Island, and it didn't work out. The East Coast was too hard for them. It was too harsh. They had some relatives. They got lost. They ended up in this small little town. It was tiny. It was small. It was perfect. It reminded them of their hometown. And my grandparents were entrepreneurs par excellence. And they opened up a small furniture store in this town. And they were awesome. They were charismatic. They were industrious. They were good to the people. And people liked them, and they had great prices, and people started coming and using their stores. And before you know it, they went from one store to 2 stores. And they were hungry and aggressive, and they were the best team in the world, my grandparents. And they went from 2 stores, and they went down more of the block and more of the block. And before you know it, after a couple of years, this tiny little furniture store ended up becoming a 1 block in this small town, and it produced the furniture for the entire town. And because my parents were awesome, not only did they employ the people in the town, they gave back to the town. They built the town's first school that actually worked and worked well. They sat with the town governors, and they helped put together the hospitals and the parks, and they were partners with this town, and the town grew. My grandparents grew. My grandparents had 1 child. It was my dad. When my grandparents turned 60, my dad was in his 40s. My dad didn't go to camp. My dad didn't go to the prom. My dad didn't go away to college. He worked the floors. He swept in the warehouse. He sat in design. His life was the business. In his young 40s, my grandfather sat him down and said, "Listen, you're my only child. I want to retire. I want to run around with your mother. I want to enjoy my grandkids. Do you think you're ready to take over the business?" And my father said, "I am." And my father took it, and did he grow it? He opened up manufacturing facilities across town. He started importing across the country. He grew the domestic plants. He started to create more products. He started to create more opportunities, more deals. And as the company grew, they employed more people in the town. And as that grew, they added more to the town. They revamped the schools. They revamped the hospitals. They added the nursery. They put in the park. And this town became synonymous with my grandparents and my parents. And I'm the only child. I didn't go to camp. I didn't go to the prom. I didn't go away for college. I swept the floors in the warehouse. I sat in design. I sat next to the account receivables guy. When I turned 40, my father calls me into the office and says, have a seat, son. He goes, what's up, Dad? He goes, when I was your age, I sat right there. And my father asked me the following question. Can you take over this business? I want to retire. I want to spend the rest of my life with your mother. I want to see the grandkids. I want to enjoy. And I said, Dad, you better believe I can. And I took over this business. And if you think my father was doing well, holy cow. I expanded to facilities in China. We invested in a new type of 3D printing. We moved new products. We opened up new design factories. We created a new relationship to wholesalers. And the company was growing in a way that was unbelievable. I took out this massive loan to fund this new facility that we're buying. And as we grew and grew and grew, 2008 hit. And the next thing you knew, the client stopped calling. The manufacturers in China stopped delivering my goods. The lender is calling for his loan. I'm turning around and the market's drying up and I got nowhere to turn. And before you know it, I can't make payroll. All my things that I borrowed on are coming due. I made all these bets and they're coming out to bite me. I've cross-collateralized half my stuff. My company is falling apart. I'm trying. I'm going 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. Finally, I brought in my lawyers. And last night, they said they were going to look into it. And this morning when I woke up early, I got a message from them. The only viable option they see is bankruptcy. I got to shut down the company. I'm going to bankrupt the company my grandfather started. Me, the moron of the grandson that he has. I'm going to be the one to send home the town that they built. I'm the one who took the legacy of my family and ran it through the mud. You know why? Because I made dumb decisions. I was too aggressive. I can't live with I can't go home. I can't look at my wife. I can't look at my kids. I can't walk their streets. And he starts to cry. And the old man says, which factories in China were you working with? And he goes, why is that even relevant? He goes, no, which ones did you use? He's like, what? How is that a question? That's even helpful. He goes, which banks did you use for your loans? He's like, which banks? He goes, what were your LTV ratios? What were your terms? He goes, what was my terms on my loans? Are you out of your mind? I'm telling you, I'm losing the company. He goes, which manufacturing facilities are you using here? How much are you paying your workers? And he's asking a million questions. He's like, are you even paying attention? Are you serious? This isn't helpful. And the old man goes, oh, you must not recognize me. I don't live here. I live in a place called Omaha, Nebraska. I vacation here. I come here a couple months a year because I have a home not too far and it gets me away from everybody. My name is Warren Buffett. Everyone here who knows who Warren Buffett is? Just give me nods. Yes? Okay. You know what I do for a living? I invest in businesses that people think are going down. You do furniture, I do distressed. What are your LTV terms? Where are your manufacturers? And he's like, Mr. Buffett, that's not you. It can't be. And he goes, can I tell you something, son? You don't got a company issue. You got what's called a liquidity issue. When companies grow, they spend money. When a couple buys their first house, they stretch. When a couple starts to grow their family and buys the second house, they stretch. When people start a business, they stretch. You're not doing anything wrong. This is how companies work. This is how great CEOs think. You think Carnegie didn't stretch? You think Rockefeller didn't stretch? You think Edison didn't? You think JP Morgan didn't stretch? You crazy? You're not a bad CEO. You're a wonderful CEO. You just need money. He goes, thanks, Mr. Buffett. I appreciate that, but I can't make payroll. He goes, oh, you don't believe me? Okay. He reaches into his pocket. He goes, Mr. Buffett, please. And he pulls out a checkbook. And he goes, Mr. Buffett. And he goes, I believe in this so much. I'm going to write you a check now for $1 million. He goes, Mr. Buffett. He goes, it's not a gift. It's an investment. 1 year from today, I'll sit you on this park bench. And you're going to return me my $1 million with a 25% return. Do we have a deal? And he goes, do we have a deal? Do I have a deal with Warren Buffett? Are you crazy? Yeah. Can I hug you? He's like, they don't have to hug me. He's like, yes. And he writes him a check. He hands it to him. And he gets up, walks away. The guy doesn't know what to do with himself. He doesn't walk back to his office. He floats back to his office. He's going out of his mind. He goes into his office. He's like, I met Warren Buffett. Like, yeah, sure. Like, no, I didn't. Like, yeah, sure. It's like meeting Michael Jordan. Like, yeah, right. You know that I saw that on eBay. So Michael Jordan wants to run a check to someone for like $6. Like, I think it sold on eBay for like 12 grand. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's Warren Buffett's signature. They're like, yeah. He goes, look. And he's showing people, like, look, Warren Buffett. They're like, oh my gosh, Warren Buffett. He's walking around the office like, look, it's Warren Buffett. They're like, I don't believe it. He goes to the bank, they hand him the check so he can cash it, and he hands the check, and the teller takes it, and he just won't let it go. She's like, do you mind if I take the check? He goes, no, because I just don't want you, because no one's going to believe me. I got to call my mom, I got to text my dad, I got to take pictures of it. You know, what time does the bank close? He's like, 5 o'clock. He says, I'll be back at 5 o'clock. He goes back to the office, he's taking pictures, he's making phone calls. He's like, it's Warren Buffett. I'm not kidding, it's Warren Buffett. 5 o'clock comes, like, oh, my kids didn't see it. I can't give him the check. You know, one more night. What's one more night with Warren Buffett and his check? Like, come on. Goes back to the house. They have dinner with the family. He puts it on a little stand. It's his wife, his children, and Warren Buffett. They have dinner together. He goes to bed. He puts it by his mantle. He comes up in the morning and he's like, you know what? I just, in case somebody walks into the office, I want to show them. I can't just give him the check. They're not going to believe me. One more day. One more day? I can't make it one more day. He goes, 5 o'clock is the bank. He sets his alarm for 4:30. He's going to get up and leave. And he spends the day. He sits down. He just looks at the check. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. He sits back and he looks at that check. Warren Buffett. Man, look at that W. Maybe that's why he's so rich. I think it's the B. And he sits back and he picks up the phone. He's waiting. He's got till 4:30. And he calls the manufacturers in China and goes, hey, how come you guys haven't shipped our goods yet? Well, we're waiting for terms. Really? Waiting for terms? You can send my goods forever? How about this? Let's make a deal. I'll send you a little less. I'll pay you installments. You send the deals. I'll make you a piece. Whatever I sell, you'll take a piece on the top end. They go, okay, that makes sense. And by the way, if you want to do more business, I expect better terms and this and that. He goes, oh, yeah, we want to do it. No, we want to do business. Absolutely. Let's schedule a meeting for next week and we'll start picking up our business again. He goes, okay, let's do that. And he hangs up the phone and goes, okay. Calls up his banks. He goes, oh, you want to foreclose? Really? You want to be in the furniture business now? Yeah, let me tell you something. You're a bank. You don't want to be a furniture guy. You want to be a bank. You want me to be a furniture guy. So how about we restructure this loan so I can stay in business and I can pay you? And they goes, yeah, of course, we're partners. We're partners. Of course, we never really wanted to foreclose. How about we set up a term next week and we'll meet again? He goes, okay, how about that? Hangs up the phone. Just feels a little different. Gets up, starts walking down and goes to the warehouse. Everyone's sitting around and goes, what are you guys sitting around for? Well, sir, he goes, come on. You think it's over? You think the business is done? Are you kidding me? My grandfather started this with rubbing the nickels in his fingers. We're just getting started. Let's go. And they're like, you're right, sir. Let's get going. He walks into the design room and goes, what's everybody sitting around for? I want 5 designs in my office. I want the best stuff in the world. Let's go. And they're like, you're right. You're right. He starts walking about. There's like, everyone's like, what got into the boss? He sits down. He never felt this good in months. He picks up the phone. He starts making new client calls. He starts setting up meetings. Before you know, it's 4:30. He hasn't had a day like this in months. And he puts on his jacket. He goes, I'm going to deposit the check. And he has this idea. I'm not depositing the check. I'm going to go a year and turn my business around myself. And then I'm going to give Warren Buffett back his original check. How many people, how many companies handed back Warren Buffett his original check? Oh, it's going to blow them away. Oh my gosh. And as soon as that hits him, turn the company around and give Warren Buffett back his original check. Don't cash the check. It's as if somebody breathed life into this guy. He wakes up in the morning jotting down ideas. He comes into the office. He is ready to roll. He's making new deals. He's cutting new opportunities. He's inspiring his things. And before you know it, after the week, they eke out enough money just to make payroll barely. He calls his lawyer. He goes, bankruptcy? Are you out of your mind? Bankruptcy? We should be looking for mergers. I'm not bankrupting my company. They're like, okay, so we're here for you. A week, a month, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. The company is totally turned around. 8 months, the company was better than it was before the crisis. 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, they're profitable. He's got cash. 11 months and 29 days. It's the night before he gets to see Mr. Buffett again. He sits at his desk and he cannot believe what 1 year brings. A year ago, he was about to bankrupt the company, and now they're doing better than they were beforehand. He sits in his office. He pulls out his checkbook. He writes a check for 25% of the $1 million investment. On his wall is the Warren Buffett check. He pulls it off. He takes off like the security tape. He puts it in his pocket. He goes home, but he can't sleep. 2, 3, 4, staring at the ceilings. 5:30, he gets up. He puts on his suit. He starts walking to the park. 5:45, sitting on that bench, 6 o'clock on the dot, the old man's walking by. Jumps up. Mr. Buffett, Mr. Buffett, you remember me? And he goes, no. He goes, you don't remember me? No. Yeah. He goes, I'm sorry, son, I don't remember you. He goes, no, you don't remember me. Like, it's me. He's like, yeah, I meet a lot of people. He goes, no. Do you remember a year ago on the bench, my company, the grandfather furniture? He goes, right, the furniture store. You're going to bank up the company, the furniture. He goes, yes. You gave me $1 million. He goes, yeah. How did it work out? He goes, how did it work out? You got a minute? He goes, sure, son. I goes, how much time do you want? He sits down and he goes, let me tell you how it worked out. And he puts his hand in his pocket to pull out the original check. And he hands it to him. And as he hands him the check, 2 guys, young guys in their late 20s, all in white, come running up to him and said, sir, is this old man bothering you? And he goes, excuse me, you two. This old man happens to be the one and only Warren Buffett. And they said, what? Warren? See past those trees? There's a nursing home past those trees. And we teach our residents something called method acting. Method acting is whenever you have to pick a character, you have to be in character. Bob is our #1 man in drama, and his favorite character is Warren Buffett. Bob, when we said method acting, it doesn't apply outside the home. Wait, you told me... Sir, did he give you any money? Because the last time he gave somebody $1 million check, the guy cashed it, he ended up in jail. Did he give you any money? He goes, no, he didn't. I didn't cash any of his money. He goes, good. Whew. Thank you. Bob, what do you say? And Bob gets up and says, son, I always wanted to be Warren Buffett. Good luck. And Bob and the crew go off. Now, I read that story a long time ago. And something bothered me from that story. What in the world happened to the guy? I don't understand something. Before he met fake Warren Buffett, he didn't want to turn around his company. He didn't try to turn around his company. You think he sat with his legs up going, whatever, we had a good run. My grandfather and father tried their hardest. Like, it's not, He wasn't waking up every single morning, pre-Warren Buffett, going, how? He meets fake Warren Buffett. He gets no money. He gets no advice. It's not like Warren goes, call this banker from JP Morgan and he can restructure the deal for you. No money, no advice. After the meeting, he gets nothing. How could he turn around his company? What in the world happened to him that meeting this fake man somehow gave him an ability? Well, he didn't want it before? He didn't try before? What changed? So I want to share with you what changed. Every single one of us has 2 parts to who we are. When God created us, he created us with 2 totally separate pieces, and then he stuck them together. One of the blessings we make in the morning is the wonderment of creation, and this is what the rabbis tell us is so wonderful. What we have inside us, me and you, I don't care where you're from, me and you, all of us, from the person who doesn't know he's Jewish to the biggest rabbi in the world, share 2 basic components: a body with a mind and a soul. The body functions in this world. The mind helps us figure out where to go. The soul is a piece of God himself. It's not God, it's a piece of him. It's a ray from his sunshine. That means me and you. That means if your eyes are open right now, I'm religious, I'm not religious, I'm connected, I'm not connected, I'm into it, I'm not into it, I don't know, forget it. You have more spirituality inside you than you'll ever need your entire life. You never have to become spiritual. You have to reveal the spirituality that is inside you. What powers us is divine energy. Hard stop. And you know, divine energy is a source that is, it's all powerful. We can accomplish what we can become, the depths that we can reach is beyond. When kids first come into this world, they're all soul. They don't have a brain yet. All they got is this like feeling of something. You ever watch little kids? Who's the most powerful force in society today? the most powerful force inside today is? Anybody? 3-year-olds. You ever deal with a 3-year-old? You have no shot. You ever give a 3-year-old a cookie? What does the kid do? I have another hand, and you go 1 per customer. And the kid goes, I will stand here for the rest of my life till you give me a cookie. And what do? Every adult, here's the cookie. 3-year-olds, we get up 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes. Let's say we have to get up at 6. The greatest gift we have is when we get up an hour before we're supposed to. We're like, oh, another hour to sleep? This is the best news in the world. The greatest enemy to a 3-year-old is sleep. He gets up at 4, he's up. He's ready to rock. You can have Passover Seder with 100 guests. 3-year-olds in a bad mood, everyone's killing each other. The kid falls asleep on the couch and was like, oh, I don't know, I feel better. Okay, I'm sorry, Grandma. Let's do this again. You ever watch 3-year-old and mommy go shopping in the supermarket? You kidding? Mommy is sitting there looking for cookies. She's looking for flowers. She goes on the wrong aisle. She ends up on the cookie aisle. And she knows she's busted, so she's trying to get out of the aisle before he realizes because he's out to lunch. And all of a sudden, he looks around, sees where he is, and goes, oh, Mommy, this is the place I've been dreaming about. This is the source of all cookies. And she says, son, you were a good boy, and I gave you a snack in the car. Maybe if you show me good behavior, I'll give you another snack in the car. And he looks at her and goes, really? You want to do this in public? You're on, girlfriend. Right? She's pulling off cookies. Come on. He's embarrassed. 3-year-olds are embarrassed. He's like looking for what your type. You ever 3-year-old like, where do you go to school? What happens to the kids? Because kids are born with this sense. I can do anything. You watch an 18-month-old try to walk, the parents are embarrassed. If it was us, we tried twice, we'd crawl into a car. The kid tries 1,000,000 times, he's still going. You ever watch little kids play? No one's bored looking at their screens. No one's looking about your race and your gender and your religion when you're 2.5, 3 years old. Can you play? Let's rock and roll. They laugh and cry in the same sentence. What's happening? You know what's happening? Because when they first come into this world, there's like a power, soul. That's a piece of us that is indestructible. It's divine. Judaism is the science of spirituality. It's not leaving the physical. God wants us to delve into the spiritual, to elevate everything. The search for God is the search for self. We're not pleasing some invisible king. We're finding the piece of us that has always been us. That's the search. That's what we do. When you're little, you feel it. Kids are indestructible. They'll overcome anything. They don't predict the future and get it wrong 100 times. They're not anxious about 6 months. They live here and now. And they're happy with playing with spoons because they'll figure out a way to make spoons fun. And then let me tell you what happens. I have a 9 o'clock speech, so I have 10 more minutes. Stick with me just 10 more minutes. And let me tell you what happens. So every one of us has this brain. Now the brain has a very important function. For those who came in on my trip, you know how this works. We have in front of us what's called, in our brains, a filter. If we were taking all the information around us, we would melt. And so what we have in our brains is a filter that filters out most of life. We don't see the world around us. We see just a snippet of it. If we took in all the stimuli around us, we would melt. I'd catch every car driving and everyone talking. If I took in everything in my environment, I would melt. So our brain has what's called a schema. A schema is a filter. It filters things in, and it doesn't even come into our conscious brain. So when I walk down the street and I hear someone talking, it doesn't come into my mind. When I drive a car, I don't even pick up all the cars around me unless it's dangerous or it's relevant. And watch how this all comes together. Where does the schema come from? It comes from you. It comes from life. It comes from our exposures. We train ourselves what to look for. We train ourselves really what to miss. It's all in our brains. That little kid starts life. You know what happens? Nothing fault. This is just life. He goes to school. And they tell him, these are the subjects that are important. And these are the kids that are better than you in school. And the kid goes, what? I can't? And he goes, sit down. Sit down. And the kid goes, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought. And he goes out to the backyard to play. And some kids are born with a little bit better hand-eye coordination. And he's not picked. And he goes, maybe I wasn't as good at this. Then they get a little older and they say, you see those screens? See these screens? Yeah, beautiful people live on screens. If you look like them, you get a little bit of an extra pop. It's called popularity. And if you don't look like them, well, these people have money. Money's a good thing. And if you have money and you get to bring it to school with you, or you bring it to life with you, you get an extra popularity pop for it. That little kid goes through life, you know what he sees? Maybe I can't. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. It's going to be too hard. I'm going to fail at that. I can't do that. I can't change my life. You change your life until you're 20. When you're 50, you don't change your life. That's not how the world works. There's a cap on growth. I've always done it this way. I can't. I won't. I shouldn't. I can't. I won't. I shouldn't. What if? That's not who I am. That's not who I am. That's not who I am. You know what all that is? That's beliefs that fill your schema. And so you look out into a world, and that world could be looking at you saying, opportunity for relationships that are deep, opportunity to be parents that are deep, opportunity to connect to God, opportunity to connect to yourself. You look at challenge, and a kid goes, let's rock and roll. And as one gets older, it's maybe, I don't know. We don't even see it. It's blocked. You know what that fake Warren Buffett gave that guy? He didn't give him any money. He didn't give him any advice. He gave him something so much more important. He saw him for who he could be. And by just seeing him for the CEO that he was, he unlocked a piece of this guy's schema that allowed him to see himself. You see, most of life, we can't see. We're blinded to our own greatness. We're blinded to our own depth. And sometimes it takes somebody else to go, you're amazing. Yes, you can. I believe in you. It takes somebody else seeing us for us to see ourselves, because otherwise it was blocked in our schema. You know what that guy got from fake Warren Buffett? He got someone to see him for who he really was. And as soon as he saw him, he unlocked him. And all of it was just him. It was always inside him. He always could turn that company around. But before he made fake Warren Buffett, he said, I'm a not. I failed. I'm not. You know what the greatest power we have is? You want to know what the greatest tool we have in greatness in our lives are? Our eyes. And around us are people that can't see who they are, just how life works. They can try all day. They're missing a piece. It's not their fault. It's life. You can't see who you are. We're blocked to the level of what's possible for us. We're blocked to the level of what we can accomplish in depth, in breadth, in relationships. We're blocked. We can't see ourselves. And the choice we make in life is, am I using my eyes to see how everyone works for me? How God delivers for me? How my family speaks to me? Whether my kids follow my instructions? Whether my wife or husband knows what I need? Is my purpose of my eyes to figure out if the world is delivering for me or not? Or is the purpose of my eyes to figure out how I can unlock the greatness in everyone around me? How I can take that woman that God gave me, the man that God bestowed to me, and see them for their greatness, even if we're married 40 years. Every day anew. You take those kids, even if they're out of the house, and look for who they are. We take ourselves. Are we using our eyes to see what's possible in the world? That's the difference between greatness and not greatness. It's not DNA. It's not resources. Never was. It's perspective. And here's the secret. You know how you find it in yourself? You practice on other people. You can't really find it on yourself. You find it in other people. And then one day you wake up in the morning and you've been looking for greatness in everything, in every encounter, every supermarket, every time you pray. You're looking every time for anywhere for how you can bring out the greatness in other people. And then one day you wake up and you look in the mirror and you just see it in yourself. You know what the rabbi said about that moment of Tisha B'Av, Chatzos? He said, imagine in your hand there was a seed. You had something. wasn't much, but it was something. And you dropped the seed into the ground. And all of a sudden, as it got into the ground, the shell started to shake and fell away. If you were looking with very physical eyes, you'd say, I had something, it was a seed. Now I have nothing. I don't even have that. I don't have the shell even. But if you look a little closer, you realize that the shell actually contains the life force that is within a seed that has the potential to not make a seed, but to make a tree and apples and a billion more seeds. When that shell falls away, do you see a shell or do you see a life force? Do you see the end or do you see the beginning? The same moment. That moment of the Tisha B'Av when you're down, it's the beginning of the next. The world's shaking. The shells are shaking. We don't have a world like we had 3 months ago. Hopefully it'll go back. Doesn't matter. The world as we know it, the shells as we know it are shaking. We can't control that. Let me tell you what we could control. Whether we see shells or we see life force. That's what we control. Whether we see this as an opportunity to become someone I could never have become but for this. Whether we see this as an opportunity to connect to people in a way that they weren't paying attention before this. Whether we see this time as the beginning of something new, of deeper, of more spiritual, of more life force, of more energy. Whether our eyes are poised on seeing that in everybody and in the world or not is going to determine whether we are climbing to greatness or we're hunkering down and ready to go back to normal. Because there is no back to normal. There's only forward to greatness. And the game, the work, the effort, the toil is not in controlling life in 6 months. The effort is controlling my eyes right now. And if by the way, I'm sorry, I've got another speech at 9. By the way, that's why we say Shema for. You know why? Because Shema is a testament that God runs the world. You know what we do before Shema? We cover our eyes. Because God goes, yeah, you think you saw the world the way you think you saw the world? Cover your eyes. Remember I run it. Open it again. Clarify your vision. Do that twice a day for the rest of your life. That's like going to the doctor. Here's what we can do, and I'll end with this. Let's try. Every time we say the Shema, even if once a day, even just say the words, 6 words. Close your eyes. Remember that God's running this place. Remember that you're a piece of him. That means you have infinite potential. When you open your eyes again, let's together try to see people and situations for their life force, for their potential, for their possibilities, for their greatness that's within them. See it in everybody. And I'm telling you, what's going to happen is, without even knowing it, you're going to unlock the greatness in people with a nice word, with a smile at the counter, with a phone call to a sibling, with a stroll around the block. Because when we use our eyes for the power that it is to see the best in everyone else, we see it in ourselves. And once we do that, we're halfway up the mountain. It has been truly an honor to spend the time with you. For my guys, I hope I get to see you again in Israel soon. I hope I get to see you in Atlanta soon. I think Atlanta's light years ahead of New York, but it always was. I mean, I don't know if this is recorded or not, but and with God's help, I hope that we get to do this in person in Israel. We could all stay at the Waldorf because I'm sure the rabbi's going to pay for it. We'll have great breakfast. We'll hang out together, and we'll be able to do what we're supposed to do. Be together, be at safety and security, see the greatness in each other, and see the greatness in God, see the greatness in this world. Thanks so much.
Amen. Amen. Thank
Yes.
you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. Rabbi Yachnes?
Thanks, Eric.
All right, thanks to everybody for joining, especially all those I guess shout out to all those from Orlando and Atlanta. We hope everyone was inspired tonight, and we got this gift. We have Charlie. That's a great gift. Now we got to take that and actualize it. So it's really incredible. We hope everybody enjoyed this, and everybody should be inspired and take action. Or a wonderful evening.
We're going to do a reunion.
Thank
Thank you.
you, everybody, for joining. Have a good night and wonderful Shabbat.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very inspiring.
Thank you.
Very, very inspiring.
Thank you.